Hi, I'm Ralph Albert Thomas, CEO and Executive Director of the New Jersey Society of CPAs. And at this issue's Watch Extra, we have two guests. We have Steve McCarthy, who is an accounting lecturer at Kean University here in Union, New Jersey, right, Steve?
Yes, correct.
And to my left, we have the venerable Jim Hardenberg, our Chief Learning Officer here at the Society. Now, there's this term, phraseology called competency-based learning. And it's been tossed around from here to there versus what we have today of, I guess, compliance models where I take CPE or I take some sort of course because I have a requirement to do it. So I'll go to you, Jim, because this is Jim Hardenberg, who is on one of the task force that have been formed to, if you look at the future of learning. It's a NASBA task force, and we're very fortunate to have Jim on there, so he'll be at the forefront and, have all the right answers and answers to all the questions. But have they talked about competency-based learning or the competency-based model? Can you?
We have.
Yeah. What is it? You hear these phraseologies and nomenclature. What is competency-based learning?
Well, it makes me chuckle somewhat when I hear this because, to me, CPE is synonymous with competency. You're supposed to take training that will enhance your competency. But I think what has happened too much so is that, as you mentioned, it became more of a compliance activity that was not the truest outcome that was hoped for. You're supposed to build your competence. Competency-based training, to me, is studying a body of knowledge to enhance and become competent in that body, meaning whether that's a tiered series of training in a certain technical area that then builds, we'll pick on business valuation skills, taking a series of programs to become a business valuation specialist. And again, that's just an example. But I think from a competency standpoint, I often come back to that means testing of some kind. How do you ensure that you became competent in what you just learned, whether that's a digital badge, whether that's a self-study type of test at the end? I would hate to see testing become part of what the environment of CPE is in holistic terms, but that's not to say it won't be part of it at some point. At the end of the day, competence is what training is all about, is to build a competent workforce and have people out there serving clients and working for companies in a manner that is fulfilling their mandates.
So let me turn back to Steve here and say, in academia, are you looking at a competency type model or base as someone goes through a curriculum? Is it to build skill sets and enhance, or is it because I need to take accounting 1, accounting 2, task course?
What is changing, Ralph, is similar to what Jim just mentioned, that the accounting curriculum, they're saying at the end, when you get your bachelor's degree, what is the body of knowledge that you should have coming out? And for most students, it's, well, what do I need for the CPA exam, right? Correct? And so that's the body of knowledge that you need, which is a lot of information. But firms specifically are creating in-house subject matter experts. So in that article, I wrote about Eisner-Amper. So they created an Eisner-Amper University. And so for each of the departments, tax and audit and consultancy, they say the people in this group need to know this by the end of the year. They need to improve these skills by the end of the year. So they're creating subject matter for those. So everybody at Eisner-Amper doesn't take the same courses. You take it based on what work you're doing in the year and what knowledge do you need to achieve the objectives that the firm has. And so that's a change from before, where you just took your CPE, and at the end of the year you were rushing around, right, to pick up courses.
Compliance.
Right, yeah. It didn't tie into to something that you need for your job.
I feel like a dinosaur. I tell you, with all this nomenclature, but it is something that's quite interesting. The other thing that has come about is this whole notion of customized content, where you bring together information that is segmented for different groups, like for the tax area, for the audit area, for consulting. What are your thoughts on this, on customized content? You
Well,
see it expanding, or?
Yeah. Yes, go ahead,
I
Jim.
see it expanding in the sense that I could see a nano library of videos that would be far and wide, that would cover different content areas and different topics that, dependent upon your level of skill, would be targeted for you. To get a 10-minute overview, get CPE credit for that. To kind of kill both needs at once, where you get credit for the learning you need right then, right there, to complete a task or complete a job or serve a client or complete something internally at a company. That's going to be a very powerful dynamic. Again, that's part of the process. I could see that being something that folks will use and then come together from time to time to talk about their body of knowledge and exactly what they're trying to accomplish within their skill set.
I agree, and I also think it's going to be increasing going forward, not decreasing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, with all of these changes, new delivery mechanisms, new approaches, new assessment type models, what's going to happen with the cost of CPE or education? From your standpoint, I've noticed some models where a university will offer the traditional, let's say, MBA, and then they'll offer an online MBA. But the online MBA is much cheaper than the traditional MBA. So is the online person getting less than the traditional person, or how does one kind of justify? I mean, where do you see costs? I mean, obviously, with new delivery mechanisms, we'll have to, employ new equipment, perhaps even a new center. Do you think it's going to have a dramatic increase on the cost of CPE to those individuals taking? And I keep saying CPE. Education from an academic standpoint, CPE from the profession standpoint. So let me first turn to you, Stephen, to see what you think in terms of the impact on cost of a college education. Because, I mean, I often look back at what I spent, and my daughter's at my same going to my alma mater, and what we're having to spend today, and I'm like, there's something wrong with this model. But
well, Ralph, I enjoyed what Jim just said about this digital library in Nanobites. The advantage of that is it's inexpensive to produce those generally, and a person could watch a 10-minute video and he could watch it 4 times so he gets the information. So it takes him 40 minutes to go through it, where another person goes through it and watches it in 10 minutes and then understands the concept. So it gives flexibility to the person that's taking it. Where in a classroom that you're there for 1 hour, if you don't get it in the 1 hour, then you have to go back and try to find out how you obtain that information you're trying to do. It will always be more expensive to have a live person on there teaching it. For some people, their method of learning, they have to have a live instructor in front of them, and they can't do it from watching a YouTube video. But I think the firms are going to look at the spending that they have, how much are they spending on this, and try to find the most efficient way to deliver information and content out to their employees and assess to make sure the employees understand that. And they're going to look for the cheapest way possible. And that's going to be all these new tools like your Nanobite library that they're going to have.
Yeah. So what's it going to do in terms of our CPE model?
The challenge I think I come back to is competence is not cheap. Being good at anything seldom takes the cheapest road. Compliance is free. You can comply easily, whether you take free webinars or some type of free service. But free's been around too. I like to think that we've been successful, at least the State Society, because we haven't gone cheap. We haven't gone free. We have a cadre of offerings, to the inexpensive to the more expensive, but I could see the way that this will evolve is that the web-based training will have a price point and it'll have a value to it that'll be lower from this Nanobite library maybe subscription type of model,
Right.
to live training actually becoming more expensive because it will become more valuable. And it's going to be a value conversation that we have to have, where the people in the room, the time they spend there, it's got to be a return on that time. And the facilitating skills that used to be a lecturer per se is going to be a facilitator now that's going to draw out all the expertise in the room to synergize that for the people in the room. I could see that being more expensive, but it just won't be the same volume. It'll be a lower volume of programming with a higher value attached to it.
And again, I agree with that we will be looking for value and not looking just for compliance to do it, but the firms, again, want their staff members to increase in knowledge over the course of the year and gain competency. And we live in an evolving business environment, and your skills have to evolve also. And so how do they keep up with the business environment? They have to make sure that they always have skilled professionals out there in this changing environment. And so there will be a value greater than just the cost of the education. It's how do they do in the job. The value is going to come there.
Agreed.
So last thoughts on this the future of CPE delivery. What do you, I mean, obviously there's some pros to it. What do you see as for maybe some of the drawbacks or negativeness of it, or anything in your last couple of segments? So I'll go to our guest, our academician here, and get your perspective, Steve, and then I'll shift to you.
Well, Ralph, I think there needs to be high quality assessment tools. So however you do those to assess, are we doing a good job? Are we delivering value to the people? And it's those tools that will tell us whether the money that we're spending on content is getting through to the people. So I think that we will see many, many new assessment tools coming forward on how people are learning, and that we can ensure that they are learning the material that we want them to learn. That's what I think we'll see in the future.
Okay. Jim?
I would say stay tuned. There's going to be some new things on the horizon that we don't see right now. I think as the standards open and allow for more learning venues, more learning opportunities, this is all going to shift. And I believe within this shifting environment, the market will win. Folks will take training, look for the ROI on that training, and they won't come back to training that they don't see an ROI on their behalf. But I believe it's going to be a rebalancing within the whole environment of education and CPE as we know it, because compliance, again, is easy. It's the competence that's going to really drive this.
And there was one thing that just popped into my mind before we come to a close here. What happens to the content providers out here, the people who exist today? With all of the changes, do we see some consolidation perhaps taking place in content providers? And on the academic side, will we see some consolidation perhaps in terms of colleges and universities as a result of moving to these new delivery mechanisms and platforms? So again, Steve, what are your thoughts from the academic side?
I think there will be quite a bit of consolidation in the future. So the content providers, say the textbook companies, there's already been a movement of consolidation there to consolidate that content. And then in the universities, I think in the long term there will be a consolidation of the number of universities that we have in America. And there'll be, but in moving in that direction, I think you'll see a partnering where online courses are created by a group of universities. So it could be the New Jersey State University systems creates a whole online program where you can get a degree. And
so are these similar to like the MOOCs that we have out there?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Correct. But that will bring about a consolidation and the way that we think about universities today.
Okay. And Jim, what do you think?
I think we'll have to, again, pick our spots and look at how state societies can work closer together, how state societies can work with the AICPA closer together, how content providers can come to the table, and yes, I believe there'll be some consolidation there too, because there's going to be a lot of programming that won't be at the same volume that it was before. Yet we'll have to have strategic alliances that help us bring content to the table in a new way. So it's going to be, and I've said this before, but stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of moving parts in the next 3 to 5 years.
This has been an interesting conversation. Clearly, although we don't know for sure what the future holds, it's clear that we can't wait till the future arrives before we start to think about and do something and to plan for what's going to happen. We need to certainly embrace the changes that are taking place and look how we can, I guess, mold them and shape them to ensure that we are responsible to the needs of the profession and, more importantly, the individuals who are in the profession, and and also to the public, I think, to make sure that we're having folks out in this space that really know what they're doing, because the public we're the trusted advisors for the public these days. So I want to thank Steve McCarthy, our accounting lecturer at Kane University. Thanks, Steve, and a member of the NJCPA. Okay, I did the thing. The NJCPA. Okay, and our Chief Learning Officer, Jim Hardenberg, who is just great to have someone with a breadth of knowledge that Jim has. Been at this for more than 25 years.
Long
Jim?
time.
Long time. He doesn't want to talk. He's still a young-looking man, but he does a great job and really understands this space out here and has done a good job in putting forth a great program and running our education foundation. So thank you both for joining me today and having this sort of like a fireside chat about what the future of a CPE and CPE delivery has to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.